Hi, and welcome to Rossi Audio. Today's topic is the best places to buy vintage audio or newer audio if that's what you're into. Um, it depends on where you live. It has all to do with geography, but there is certain common places online that we all can use. If you're looking for new and used, you can use either eBay and Amazon. Those are more or less worldwide, so it doesn't matter where you live. Um, let's focus on a few places, both here in the United States, in Canada, and over in Europe. Um, I'm taking into consideration everything here when I say best place to buy. It is where can I find most product, the best quality, what's the safest place, and of course price. Um, if you live in Europe, it depends on the part of Europe. There's a lot of local marketplaces. Netherlands has their own, Germany has one, Sweden has one, Norway has one, Denmark has one, and of course, on top of their own local marketplaces, they also have access to eBay and Amazon. So in Canada, they of course has access to eBay and Amazon as well, and they also have something called Kijiji. Um, Here in the United States, it is eBay, Craigslist, Amazon, and of course all these sales groups that are popping up on Facebook. They're all over the world, but so far they have been the worst crap of the crap. Most of the stuff that sells there is tennis shoes and rotten tires and clunkers of cars. So these eBay pages that pops up that calls himself better than eBay, better than Etsy and stuff like that. Yeah, if you're looking for some fake Jordan basketball shoes, that's where you go. Um, we're talking about audio, so we can rule out Facebook because it's so far in between, and when it comes up, it's just stupid shit that comes up anyway. Um, so let's focus on the big ones. Okay, we have Hi-Fi Shark and Hi-Fi engines and stuff like that that also are local for locals and nationwides. I haven't used them much. The prices seems to be on the high side, so they kind of exclude themselves. Um, Worldwide sales. If you live somewhere and you can't find that product locally in your own backyard, of course, then you have to source out and go to something that has a worldwide coverage, and then we're talking about either Amazon or eBay. Um, for us who lives in the United States, I want to say that probably eBay is probably the best place to find things. You can find them in all kinds of conditions. You can find them in all kinds of states and places. So you can maybe have the option of local pickup if you do. So let's look at the aspects. Okay, prices. Let's start with prices. eBay is normally higher priced than most others. Although lately a lot of Craigslist sellers is using eBay as a blueprint for price. So a lot of Craigslist sellers refer to eBay as the value of things. Just because it's listed on eBay for a certain price doesn't mean it sells for that price. I've been following many items many times that was listed for the first time with, let's say, $500, and it didn't sell, and next time around it was lowered to $469, didn't sell. Well, then it was $425 and it didn't sell. And I have seen listings goes on and on and on for almost over a year. I've been following this one speaker pair, and his prices are going up and then they go down, and then they go up and then they go down. So it doesn't mean that the price that are listed on eBay is what it sells for. I tell people all the time, you have to go in and look at what items that sold, what they sold for, not what they listed for. Because I have seen that items that were listed for $500 and then end up selling for $275 or $300. So, and then of course you have a lot of these listings that have a fixed price of $499.99 or best offer, and many times when you send an offer to these guys, they take it if you send a fair offer. I have done that many times. If I see a listing that is like $50 or best offer, I shoot off an offer first I'll try to lowball first one, because I have three offers I can do. So if I see something for $50, I offer them for $25 the first time. And 90% of them declines, 10% accepts it. So sometimes you can get lucky. And then of course, the second time around, I add another $10, so $50, $35. So then more people accept it. And some people they won't do an offer unless you're like $5 below. But prices is not eBay's strong side, but you can make good deals on eBay. Don't get me wrong. You can get some of the best deals on eBay. And what is good with eBay is you use PayPal, you have eBay buyer protection, you have protection via PayPal, so your transaction is pretty darn secured. I said that prices is not eBay's strongest side. It's not. They tend to be a little bit high, but if you wait it out, you will see sellers dropping prices gradually. So when it hits a price that you're comfortable with, you can snag it up. The biggest problem with eBay is sellers who don't know how to freaking pack and ship these things. That's the biggest problem. So when it comes to vintage audio and speakers, there is, I think, I'm not going to bombastically say that it is, but I have seen what I have received, and about 50% of the people that I have bought from didn't know jack shit about how to pack it properly. Even though I messaged them in advance after I bought it, and I messaged them and I said, please pack it like this, and I gave them like a very specific way of packing, and they still didn't do it. So that's the biggest problem with eBay. But of course you have the protection, so you can send it back and get your money back, so you kind of secure it that way. Amazon is about the same way, little bit better packing, but it's the same way. The other online sites, Bonanza and OfferUp and Let Go and stuff like that, don't even try it. It's not worth it. Not as a seller and not as a buyer. That leaves us with the local sites, and of course the local sites can be good. And one of the ones that is kind of nationwide but at the same time local is Craigslist. And I have to admit that I look at Craigslist a lot. And I look at Craigslist at a radius of 6 hours of driving away from my home. And if I find something that I like, I contact the seller to check things out. But here is the kicker with Craigslist. You have no security when it comes to transaction. So once you've paid for a product, if you don't get the product tested at the place of purchase, and you take it home and it doesn't work, you're kind of screwed. And if you meet people in public, how the heck are you going to be able to test this properly? So that's a downside about Craigslist. Another downside about Craigslist is it depends on where you live. Certain areas has a lot of equipment listed. Other areas is almost drained out because the historical background and the trends in that city wasn't like in other cities. So some people are more lucky on Craigslist than others. But the biggest problem with Craigslist is, and this is a serious one, especially when you live in a city like I do, there is very limited what I want to do if I set up a contact with a seller on Craigslist. When you live in a city like Memphis or New Orleans, Chicago, LA, New York, I'm just naming these places because they are places with a lot of crime. Especially Memphis. We have some neighborhoods here that you don't even want to drive 200 miles an hour through. I mean, we have some shitty, scary neighborhoods over here, and the same in Chicago. So you never know who the seller is, and it might be a bait ad or a bait listing. In Memphis, we have had several robberies, even when people have met him at a McDonald's store, and they were the victims of armed robbery, and this was over cell phones. We had a year or two ago, we had like 3 or 4 incidents like that, and it still goes on today. So when I'm on Craigslist, I'm really careful about giving out personal information. All they get is my phone number or whatever, because I call them or text them. And if I'm going to meet, I decide where to meet, and I have certain places that I only meet. But I don't buy a lot from Craigslist. I buy a few things here and there. Most of my stuff I buy from eBay, just because I want to have that security of my cash, my money. So, of course, in Europe, it depends on what country you live in over there. Some countries have higher crimes than others, so be careful with those local sites where you have to meet someone. Be careful when and where you meet them, because you never know. You might be lured into a trap, and it can be the last thing you do. So, how would I rate this? Well, I would say if you want to buy and feel secure, both monetary but also physically and for your own well-being, I say eBay. eBay all day long. They have the best selection and the best and safest routines of doing things, both monetary and for your own well-being. Second place would be Amazon. Third place would probably be Hi-Fi Engine or Audio Mart, Hi-Fi Audio Mart. In Canada, eBay. Canada is, I'm not sure about the crime rates up there, but probably 1/3 of what you have in the States. So Kijiji is probably, meeting people off of Kijiji is probably not as bad as going to some neighborhoods here in Memphis or in Chicago or New Orleans or LA. So, and the same in Scandinavia and Europe. So I'm not saying that eBay is perfect or the best place of all, but it's the best option that we have right now. Unless you live in a town and you have a network of many collectors and you buy and sell equipment to each other, then of course then that's the best way. But right now, eBay is probably the safest and the best, even though it has some big flaws. So the final word is, if I'm going to buy something, it will probably be off of eBay and then off of Amazon. And I probably rank Craigslist at number 3, but I try to avoid Craigslist just because of this city is so riddled with crime. And I can just tell you, the last 7 years I've been buying and selling items that I buy at auction, and I have met a lot of people because I sold on Craigslist, and I have seen it all. And thank God I haven't experienced being robbed yet, and I don't plan on being it. I take my precautions. So just be careful when you're out there buying and selling stereo equipment and vintage audio. Some things are not worth it. Just let me put it that way. Your life is worth more than a receiver or an amp or a pair of speakers. So with that, the final word is, buy where you feel comfortable. I feel comfortable buying from eBay. That's it.